cybersecurity under the Obama administration, and here's his read.
The last administration all but neglected cybersecurity, even though the digital threats were growing more numerous and more dangerous by the day. In 2014, a foreign government actually hacked into the White House network itself. And yet, in the face of constant attacks like that, the last administration too often chose silence and paralysis over strength and action.
Hindsight being 2020, do you believe the Obama administration could have done more on this front?
Well, Poppy, I think that's a very interesting interpretation of history there. I think if you asked any cybersecurity expert, they would tell you that no administration has done enough to combat this threat, including the Bush administration prior, which I also worked for, the Obama administration and this administration all have to, the important thing is we have to step up our game going forward and increase the level of operational collaboration between the government and the private sector, increase our collaboration with our allies and like-minded governments around the world, and do more to bake in security from the very beginning in the kinds of IT devices we're using, from our cars to our refrigerators.
So where do we go from here? I mean, if Facebook is going to throw all this money, resources, energy at this, if government is stepping up in the way it is, I mean, is this just the new reality?
I think in very much cybersecurity is one of the great threats that we face as a nation in the 21st century, and it's something that we're going to have to come to grips with as a society. And we're going to have to invest across the board in greater resilience as a society, and increasing our digital defenses, and increasing our ability to impose costs and disrupt the malicious actors systematically that we're facing.
Michael, Daniel, appreciate you being here and the expertise this morning. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
A judge has blocked the ability to upload, you can make them at home on a 3D printer that most people don't have yet, but someday they will. They have no registration, no serial numbers, potentially they are lethal, but completely untraceable. This is because of a settlement with the Trump administration that this Texas group called Pence Distributed was set to begin to share the 3D gun plans on its website this morning with the government's blessing. But last night, a federal judge in Seattle issued a temporary hold on that. My colleague Lori Siegel is here to pick up the story from there. So, Lori, you spoke with the man at the center of all of this, at the center of Pence Distributed. Before this ruling came down, what did he say?
It's interesting. I think one thing we should note, a lot of people don't realize he put up all of these blueprints. They were saying they were going to do it today. He actually put them up a couple days ago, and over 1,000 people had already started downloading them. So I did have the opportunity to speak to Cody Wilson, and this is before the temporary hold, and I asked him what he thought about the president weighing in. You had President Trump weighing in, and he talked about this being a First Amendment issue. Take a listen. President Trump tweeted that he's looking into 3D plastic guns. He said this doesn't seem to make sense. What's your response to the president?
I don't sell 3D guns, so the president will understand that in time.
Are you worried that the government will reverse its decision?
Oh, like I told you, I already uploaded the plans. I mean, it's the ship has sailed. It's public domain information now. It's irrevocable. No one can take it back.
The democratization of guns online, giving people the ability to 3D print their own guns, would make it feasible for felons, minors, mentally ill to have access to firearms. Are you worried about those repercussions?
No, I don't believe that access to information is ever tremendously negative or a bad thing. I know that people can use information for bad things, but this isn't a justification to what? Stop a publisher from speaking?
How would you keep a minor away from 3D printing a gun when you have the democratization of these plans online that would make it readily available for folks to do this in the click of a button?
I'm sorry, do public libraries perform background checks on people before they read books? It just doesn't, that's just not how speech and publication works. So look, if it's illegal for you to make a gun in this country, it's illegal for you to make a gun. All right, I mean, you're violating the law. But that doesn't mean that that possibility prevents people from being able to legally share and freely access this information. It just doesn't work that way.
Look at the case of the 25-year-old man who went on a shooting spree in Santa Monica with a homemade AR-15, killing 5 people. Are you worried that the implications of democratizing this type of information would lead to similar types of deaths?
I guess the question then is connected to the word you use, democracy. Is democracy dangerous or not? right? Can the people be trusted or not?
You're provocateur. You like to push the limits. Do you think felons, minors, mentally ill folks who are able to click and download and print, do you think they can be trusted, or do you think there should be more government oversight over what you're doing?
No, I definitely don't think there should be more government oversight. I believe that people can publish this information. I know that they can legally under the First Amendment. Now, if the question is a moral question, like, was it right? Should you do it? Again, my answer is yes. I believe that I should. I believe in what I'm doing. When I'm called a provocateur, that somehow takes away like the seriousness of what I'm doing. Like I'm only doing it, for a stunt or something. No, I believe in what I'm doing.
What does the world look like to you in the next decade with some of the technology that you've pushed forward?
If people have like an internet resource of some type of encyclopedic scope, it should allow like more rapid innovation in this space as well. I know that upsets everyone. Chuck Schumer's out there with a bill today saying, no, guns should only ever be the way they've always been, and we have to prevent them from becoming new.
What's your response to him?
It's just a depressing world to live in. There's less to hope for when things have to be frozen and things have to be managed. And I don't know. I find it profoundly unromantic.
I think a lot of people would say it's depressing to live in a world where you think about a lot of people who probably shouldn't have access to handguns being able to readily have the ability to make them from home.
Look, I mean, that might depress them, but it excites and inspires the imagination of many other people. And unfortunately, we have always had the law on our side.
Wow.
Yeah, inspires the imagination for him. For others, I think very worrying. Now, there's another hearing set on August 10th, so we'll hear more then next week.
This is someone that does not do a lot of interviews, so thank you for getting him to talk and bringing it to us. You've interviewed him a number of times over the years. Who is Cody Wilson?
He's interesting. I mean, I called him provocateur. He calls himself an anarchist. He pushes the limits of what he believes is the limit of free speech. And last time I interviewed, he had created a crowdfunding site to give room to neo-Nazis and trolls who wanted to raise money for their causes because they'd been kicked off Facebook or Twitter for hate speech. So you get the sense, but this is something he's been doing since 2013. So this is something he really believes in, and he really pushes those limits. And it's become, as you see, a national conversation with tremendous implication.
And this fight far from over. We'll see what happens. This is, again, only a temporary stop by the judge. Yeah. Thank you, Lori. Yeah. Ahead, I'd rather be helping than feeling sorry for myself. And one of the homes destroyed was theirs. Thank you both for being here, and I'm so, so sorry.
Thanks for having us.
Dave, you said something extraordinary. You said, I'd rather help than feel sorry for myself. So walk us through what you've been doing on the front lines since losing your home.
I really don't think I'm doing anything different than anybody else in my position would have done. I mean, everybody I've worked with, I think, approaches the job the same way. We do this every day across the nation, and I really don't think that I don't feel that I did anything special. It's just once I saw my house gone, there's going to be plenty of time to go back through the remains and see what we can salvage and move forward with our family.
We're seeing these aerial shots of where your home was, and it's just gone. I mean, everything is gone. Ava, you are the mother of 2 children. You have a 5-year-old Savannah, 7-year-old Dylan. As you ran through the house, obviously getting them and getting the few things that you could, how did you explain this to your kids?
Well, I didn't have much time to explain anything to them. I was starting packing up the bags when I saw the fire coming over the ridge. So we had a little bit of time. I packed up the horses and the dogs in the meantime. And then in the morning I said, we just got to wake up. We have to go on a little adventure. And that's when we pulled out of the driveway. So they thought they're going on a little adventure.
How are they doing? How are the kids doing?
Okay. I think they understand a little bit what it means that our house is gone, since they knew about fires, since their dad fighting fires all over the place. So they're not too unfamiliar what it can do. But it's still hard to realize that now they're realizing, oh, we lost this and this is not there anymore. So we said it's okay. We're all together. They're safe. And that's it.
And it's just, as you say, it's just material things. But David, as you know, being on the front lines helping fight this, it's also lives. I mean, you've got at least 6 lives lost in this biggest of the fire. You've got 4 more people unaccounted for. For Americans across the country watching who've never lived in the reality of being threatened by wildfires, just how Just how striking is this to you, and what do you want them to know?
I would say that is by far the saddest thing. I mean, my heart goes out to the people that not only have lost everything they've had, but they've lost a loved one. That's the part that really gets me. I don't even know how I would cope if I lost anybody.
Yeah. It's extraordinary what you're doing to help right now in the midst of everything. I know you say a lot of people would do it, but I don't think everyone would respond the way you are, David, and going back on the front lines to help. So thank you both for being with us.
List of charges of financial crimes. One person who is keeping a close eye on all of it includes President Trump. His tweets this morning pretty much bearing out what White House officials had told CNN earlier, that he's asked his staff to keep him updated on what's happening in that courtroom. So let's find out what's happening in that courtroom. Joining me right now, CNN's crime and justice reporter, Shimon Prokupecz. So, Shimon, what